Hey everyone, so we are in the EVGA headquarters gaming arena. Today, basically the overclocking arena. So I am joined by alias name CENS, who has been doing some overclocking, and we have some pretty, do you wanna intro what the card is?
Yeah, I mean, you guys name it differently, but I guess this is a 4090 from EVGA that has never gotten released, and this is kind of a pre-production kind of sample.
And it's actually a very special one because we'll show this in another video, but this is one that Kingpin, working with his R&D team, has completely custom modded. So he's got voltage reads everywhere. He can plug it in and control, I think it's 5 different voltage points.
Yeah, all the rails on the card we can control with manual knobs.
But one thing that's really interesting about this one that I'm holding is that it has no more text on it, which is the fault of Clemens and biso, who is one of the leading overclockers. Yeah. So what we're going to show you is lapping a GPU, and yes, it does actually help, but only really at a certain level of overclocking ability. So I guess to set the stage here, so GPUs, like these cards, they have some text on them where it says NVIDIA, it says the die name, and that's obviously been obliterated here. But additionally, they are imperfect. They're not completely level. And I'll let you kind of talk through, like, how does this, when you're trying to hit record-breaking performance, you know, how limiting does that actually become?
So the shape of the die is usually with a slight bow to it, and that causes the card, the paste to crack once you go below a certain degree of temperature. And we kind of want the max temperature to squeeze out the most megahertz and use the highest kind of voltage. Yeah, and therefore we, so this is pre-labbed by me yesterday.
This is one dead? This card, I mean?
Oh, this is the active.
Oh, this one still works? Okay.
Yeah, so be careful.
So this one still works?
So this is the end result, basically, to 3 micron lapping.
Wow, yeah. And for lapping, so maybe we should talk about, I guess, for the silicon, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but my understanding is that the silicon tends to be closer to that substrate than it is to the surface up here. And I think the terminology I've heard Roman use is diffusion barrier for this top layer, which is does not contain any of the silicon itself, so you're not damaging it by lapping it.
We actually went, at the beginning when we were testing what we could do or get away with, we lapped it so low that we had to lap the shimmer of it also.
Oh, really?
And we're still fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but of course we want to lap as least as possible to keep the structure and the stability of the core.
Right.
Yeah, and we figured out a way to not even touch the shim.
Yeah, so this stuff's pretty cool because you're talking about extracting the last little bit out of a card, first of all, so that's always interesting. And then you're also talking about sanding down the die, which is pretty rare at this point. Although there's been a couple videos on it, like Roman's done it for CPUs a number of times on his channel. But on a 4090, I'm not aware of any public videos about it yet. So pretty, I guess on one hand you could perceive it as risky, but like if you're experienced with it,
yeah, I mean,
with most things.
I mean, we've done it on many cards, both of us, so we are confident, but again, we have like 3 cards here, so if anything goes wrong, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right, so why don't, Clemens, I'll let you kind of take point on walking me through the stuff on the table here.
Okay. So first off, we have this piece of glass that we can flip the card around and move across. It has a specific height to not collide with any parts on the PCB. Then we apply a thin layer of self-adhesive, like double-sided glue. It has to be very thin because even the glue has some compression to it. And when we are talking like micron level of lapping that actually makes a difference.
Right.
Then you need to take care no bubbles and so on, and then you apply your lapping sheet. Usually we start out with around 1,000 actually.
1,000 grit sandpaper.
Or even actually low, even 600, because we will apply some kind of protection on the shim, on the sides of the shim, to that we sand down first. It's going to sand down first, so we use the 600, and then it will slowly come down to the die, and then we start to go to 1,000, 1,500.
And so biso is one of the leading overclockers in the world right now. If you check out like 3D Mark leaderboards, you'll see a lot of his name up there. And biso, what did you were cutting this, right?
Yeah.
So what were you cutting it for?
It's hard to explain in English for me, so yeah, let me try. This is for some guide for lapping. Without this kind of metal pieces, we easily can lose balance. Yeah, we also focus to keep the perfect flatness, but it's really easy to make a mistake.
Right.
So, you know, this GPU die is so weak, so even at the final one mistouch can fuck everything.
Right.
Yeah, this is real.
That English was pretty good.
Yeah, and on my first lapping, I was quite good. I was not bad, but at that time I lapped for more than over 8 hours, so I was so tired.
Right.
So I lose my concentrate at the end. So I tilted a lot at very last touch. So I everything. So yeah, so I needed to lap the entire GPU die again for more 5 hours.
I can tell you hang out with Vince.
Yeah, right. I learned some English from Vince, so this is his words. Yeah.
That's what we learned it.
Yeah. So Clemens, what's next over here?
So he will apply those protective foil kind of aluminium to the sides of the shim, and then just go at it. Obviously, apply the glue and the lapping paper to the glass.
Right.
Flip the card, and go with the palm of his hand, back and forth.
Right.
There's different methods to it. I use my fingers in the center of the die, but you can go whatever suits you, and because obviously if you do this for a few hours straight, obviously you get all kinds of aches and pains, right?
Yeah, it seems like it would be very easy to start applying too much pressure on one side or something.
That's why we have these four.
Right.
If you can't really tilt the card when we have this protection.
So then, do you glue the paper to the glass?
Yeah.
Basically. Okay.
Yeah, I'll show you.
And then one of those sandpapers was like, it basically felt like normal paper. Like,
oh yeah, this is something I brought from Germany. This is this gives a different finish. So this is sandpaper. Yeah, feel it. This doesn't even feel like anything, right?
It's like a gloss paper.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. This is 3 micron, 9 micron, 12 micron.
Wow. Okay.
So I use it to check if it's really flat, because this will give a very dull finish, and it looks perfect to the eye, really nice. But if you then use one of these that give a shiny finish, then you can see different areas of the die will change basically the color or appearance earlier than others.
Okay.
So you can see, okay, this side I need to focus on a little bit more.
So do you do that to in between steps so you can see.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not like
towards the end, if you have a feeling like, okay, you're probably done or almost done, you kind of want to check, is it really okay? And then you start doing this.
Right.
You could go back and forth, but usually
just the last.
Yeah,
couple steps,
the last kind of step.
Yeah.
And it gives a very, very shiny, more shiny finish. And yeah.
Is the glass anything special, or is it just a sheet of tempered glass?
Tempered glass, specific height, as I said, to not collide with the with the parts in the PCB.
Right.
Other than that, it's very basic.
Cool.
But getting the specific size is obviously important because we kind of want to be in this kind of area.
Right. I heard Vince talking to his R&D team earlier about removing some of the chokes.
Yeah, we have to remove this one. And this one down there.
Just for Allen 2 pot clearance.
Yeah, to move actually the glass back and forth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. This is I mean, this should have been a FTW.
Mm.
On the KP cards, they obviously purposely built for LN2 and XOC. So he keeps all the obstacles out of the way anyway from design.
So those have already been removed on this one.
Exactly.
So if looking in closer at this one, you'll see that there's same two chokes that we were just indicating on this card. So is that these two?
Yeah.
So those two are gone over here.
Yeah.
So the R&D team just ripped them off the board and no more problem. Do they leave the rest of that stage on there? Like, is there a corresponding like MOSFET for the choke?
Yeah, it's next to it, this one.
No, they just leave it on there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I mean, it's just about the height of these parts. So biso is now preparing the glass. Obviously, you don't want to have any residue, any dust particles. Get it as flat and pristine as possible. Yeah.
Is this just part of the...
So if you flip the card around, you can see those soldered kind of parts. And if we would apply pressure directly with our fingers or whatever to the back, we would rip them off. Therefore, we put some thermal pad for protection and some back plate.
Okay.
And just, use this.
This is pretty nice. Just cut to size sheet of adhesive. Yeah. Good way to do it.
At the beginning, it's really hard to source all the right tools basically, because find this as a roll is kind of hard.
Yeah.
You wouldn't imagine, but
I like using the memory heater. Is that what that is, to flatten it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can do. You can use whatever just to get the air bubbles out, similar to like, if you put on a protective screen on your phone.
Right. Yeah. Biso, how long does it take you to lap a GPU normally?
I'm an expert, so maybe 2 hours.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. How long did the first one you did?
7 or 8 hours.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get the method down, you can go through the grids faster. As I said before, we started with 1,500 to not damage the die.
Right.
Now we start with 600, 1,000. That's going to be much quicker.
Yeah, because at this point you have some confidence as to when it will be damaged. Yeah. So are you starting with 600 on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So first you'll see we only touch the aluminium.
Right.
We grind it down to a level where it starts touching the die. And then you can basically see this where touches spread across the die, because it's obviously the highest in the center. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And this is something we were talking about before filming. You mentioned how Malcolm Gutenberg, one of the thermal engineers from NVIDIA. He did a video with us, and he made some commentary about the die. I'll let you share what your thoughts were on his comments, because he was talking about expansion, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we were like finding this full pot cracking issue for a while and trying to figure out, ways to get around it. But, listening to this interview kind of gave me a hint, because he said, okay, the bow of the die is on purpose, because when the die warms up, it flattens the die. And here we basically cool the die down, but also push 1,000 watts through it. So that's probably going to cause some warping in one form or the other. So this is kind of what we think why we see the cracking, because it just snaps in this contact.
NVIDIA is going to see this and be like, we're never doing interviews ever again. They've learned something from it.
I mean, we would have done this anyway. We've done this before, but now we know why it might be beneficial to do it.
So what is the purpose of
so this is kind of acts like a counterweight.
Okay.
Obviously the card is much longer on this side, and then he tries to balance it, so it's kind of the same weight on both sides.
Nice. Pretty good.
Because over time, if you lap an error into the card, it's gonna get even worse.
Right. Yeah, it would become increasingly exaggerated. Yeah. I guess we'll see in a second, but when you're sanding it, do you only apply pressure on the sides, or do you...
Right in the center.
Okay.
Right in the center. So there you can see a little mark.
Yeah.
So kind of get a rough idea where to place your hand. And then, with experience, where to place the palm and apply even pressure across this short distance.
At what point do you start lapping it? I mean, when do you hit a stage in overclocking with the GPU where you say, I can't go any further without lapping this?
Yeah, so basically we start lapping right away sometimes.
For you guys, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I mean, for daily overclocking, I think lapping the GPU die would not benefit you at all.
Right.
It's totally nonsense to do this. This is just, if the GPU architecture in general can take full pot temperatures and has no other cache bug or whatever, then you would start to do this. For sure.
So if it can't run full pod, is it a waste of time to do this?
Yeah,
okay.
Probably.
Because this is all about cracking for paste?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay.
We don't see, when we test these and mount an AI cooler on it, we don't really see clock gains from lapping. Because going back to the NVIDIA engineer, it's probably designed to be this way under normal circumstances.
Yeah, it's not an accident, right? They definitely, whether the design has a meaningful intention or it's just how it's made, they for sure know about it.
Yeah. So there you can basically see where it sands down these, how do you say, sleds or
slides?
Yeah. On the sides first, and eventually we will start to touch the die in the center.
Right.
So the way he does it, or we do it, is like go 10 times back and forth each side.
Oh, he's counting.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense too.
And obviously, because of the hand placement, if you turn it around now, you will see that the sides are not lapped across the whole distance evenly. Okay. So that's why he's changing positions.
I see. Right, to keep the pressure distribution even. Yeah. This seems like it would be painful for the top of your hands and for your shoulders after 2 hours of this.
Oh yeah. You gotta have your painkillers ready.
Tell them about the music we listen.
Oh yeah. So usually when we do this, you kind of connect your mind to the lapping process to even out like any distraction, or so we get ourselves in the zone by putting on. Yesterday we put on the whole day classic music.
Okay. Yeah.
It was kind of weird, but it actually helps you to concentrate for a long period of time and relax, right?
What if the time signature, the tempo changes? Just screw it all up.
So yeah, show him.
Let's take a look.
So here you can clearly see we start to touch the die. So it's now time to swap the grid.
So get some. Oh yeah. So the NVIDIA text for the logo is going away. Yeah.
NVIDIA starts to fade.
Right. Yeah. That's it's very telling though, right? Because it tells you, like you're talking about, that this is the, depending on your perspective, but the high point or the low point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can clearly see there's this high point, and now obviously this area will widen over time the lower you go.
Right. When do you normally stop? Is it just once they all look once it looks the same across?
Yeah. Then I would personally go and switch to this other paper to check if it's actually, because sometimes the corners, even though you see it's to the naked eye, it's looking like it's
right.
Even, right? Sometimes those corners are not quite there yet.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
And since like logic, CPU logic is across all the area, we kind of don't want to have any hotspots.
Yeah, one of the things we noticed a long time ago was not die lapping, but just for reassembling a video card, like if someone wants to repaste it, one of the things we try to make clear to people is the paste needs to cover the entire die.
Exactly.
It's not like a CPU IHS where you can have some missing spots on an IHS.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter. You're fine. Yeah, but a GPU, you might actually have something just die if it doesn't have any contact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On GPU, it's actually advisable to just jam it with paste.
Right. Yeah.
It will squeeze out the side anyway, and you make sure the whole die is basically
right.
Because also on LN2 we use even more paste. Then it kind of fills the gaps and also prevents the cracking. Yeah.
So then now he's just switching to the next grit or another 600.
Next grid, probably 1,000.
Okay.
But yeah, it takes time to change the grids because the whole application with the glue and so on.
Right.
So it's just then a repetitive kind of process.
Yeah. So then the end result of all of this, again, this card has been lapped already at this point. I'm trying to not pick it up by the because I said to Vince, how is this, because I couldn't see the glue.
Yeah.
I said, how is this secured? Did you like solder it to the card?
Yeah.
He's like, no, it's hot glue, man. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So end result is something like this. So we're gonna pull the cooking show thing on you and say, look, there's one already done, because this is gonna take a couple hours, and I don't want to distract biso for 2 hours while he does this. And the extra end result of it is we're gonna have another video. I don't know if we'll put part of it probably in this one with these guys working on 4090s, making some runs at, I don't know, Port Royal or Times by Extreme, whatever you end up doing.
Yeah. Full pot.
Yeah. So that'll be a lot of fun. Check back for that one. But thank you for the walkthrough, and good luck with the rest of the lapping.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.